You know, this was one of those days that you index alongside other days in history that were this big. In our newsroom here at 30 Rock, the shelf that this day goes on is labeled the Brokow Shelf.
A historic moment tonight. The Berlin Wall can no longer contain the East German people. Thousands pouring across at the Bornholmer Bridge.
NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw. Tonight from West Berlin.
Good evening, live from the Berlin Wall on the most historic night in this wall's history. What you see behind me is a celebration of this new policy announced today by the East German government that now, for the first time since the wall was erected in 1961, people will be able to move through freely.
That was November 9th, 1989, the fall of the Berlin Wall in East Germany. Our Brokow shelf in our newsroom is reserved for tape of big historic moments just like that, moments of world change. Frankly, moments of revolution.
In the Philippines, jubilation. Marcos is gone, and the people reclaim their palace.
NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. Tonight from Washington, a city that had a major role in those astonishing developments in the Philippines. President Ferdinand Marcos, who vowed to fight to the last drop of blood, has fled his country tonight. He has flown to Guam. The end of an era. Indonesia's president finally steps down. A new leader. But will anything change?
Victory. 3 decades of absolute power surrendered in 3 minutes. Asia's longest-serving leader, President Suharto, bows to pressure and steps down, asking for forgiveness. A nation responsible for his downfall cheers. A spontaneous outburst at the parliament, now home to an occupation army of students.
It is a world turned upside down. While China's communist rulers were brutally cracking down on democracy, Poland's communist leaders today were accepting a form of democracy, the results of parliamentary elections, and admitting that solidarity was the big winner. A revolution is underway in Romania tonight. Ceausescu is on the run, but the battle is not yet won.
They chanted, "Ceausescu is no more." They had waited 24 years for this. In the final hours of the Ceausescu regime, the soldiers sided with the people and turned their guns on the presidential palace. After a helicopter flew the dictator and his wife away, the mob stormed his office and tossed his belongings to the crowd below.
A historic day in South Africa. Voting by all races begins under heavy security. In South Africa, this was a day that many thought would never come, the beginning of a true democracy. All races voting in an election that ends 300 years of white oppression.
The Philippines, Indonesia, Poland, Romania, South Africa, those are just the ones we keep on our Brokaw shelf. There's also the Rose Revolution in the Republic of Georgia in 2003, the Orange Revolution in Ukraine 1 year later in 2004, the Tulip Revolution in Kyrgyzstan 1 year after that in 2005. Last month, there was Tunisia. The successful toppling of Tunisia's dictator happened on January 14th, and within a week and a half, the word Tunisia was the rallying cry for what just happened in Egypt, in the largest Arab country in the world.
This is an NBC News special report. Revolution in Egypt. Here's Brian Williams.
Good day from New York. If you've been following the news throughout this day, then you know the news that the people of Egypt have toppled their government. Their leader, Hosni Mubarak, has left power and left Cairo.
This is the statement they have been waiting for. Not that he's in Egypt, not that he is in Sharm el-Sheikh, but that he is stepping down.
Listen to that crowd. That's what they've been waiting for. Hosni Mubarak has gone. says it all. After 18 days, President Hosni Mubarak has resigned.
Now they are standing on the tanks. People here cheering the army, saying hand in hand, the people and the army are together. And that scene, I think, will become one of the more iconic images of Egyptians on a weapon of war that they are now using as a symbol of their new freedom.
This is our today. This is our country. This is my Egypt. This is the revolution of Guy people. It's our Facebook. We are the source of revolution. We are the man. Egypt will be rebuilt with us. Egypt will be rebuilt with us.
Egypt will be rebuilt with you.
Yeah.
That is a theme we are hearing over and over. This, again, one of the cheers that has been iconic throughout all this. The army and the people, hand in hand. And today, the army is stepping in to join with the people, and now will be taking charge to hand over this transition.
Before Tunisia overthrew its dictator last month, no country in the modern Arab world had ever before seen a peaceful uprising overthrow a government. It had never happened before. It had never happened before. It happened last month. And now it happened twice. Will it happen somewhere else next? Nobody knows. But the reaction and the celebration around the world today was stunning. In Amman, Jordan, thousands gathered near the Egyptian embassy to celebrate, dancing and cheering and shouting congratulations in Arabic to Egypt. In Beirut, Lebanon, fireworks broke out to celebrate the news out of Egypt, along with more scenes of dancing and cheering in the streets. In Gaza, the sound of car horns honking, ringing through the city. Palestinians took to the streets, firing guns in the air to celebrate. As Egyptians gathered to celebrate in Tahrir Square in Cairo, thousands took to the streets in Yemen's capital city of Sana'a. Demonstrators chanted yesterday Tunisia, today Egypt, and tomorrow Yemenis will break their chains. Thousands reportedly turned out to celebrate in Doha, Qatar as well. When we compare what happened today in the Middle East to the Berlin Wall falling, there's something really specifically true about that comparison that is worth remembering. When the Berlin Wall fell, it was 1989. We sometimes shorthand that as the fall of the Soviet Union. But that did not happen for a couple more years. While the Berlin Wall was coming down, anyone who says they knew what would follow, they knew what it meant, they knew what would happen next, is lying.
What this will all mean for the political future of Germany is very difficult to determine here tonight. But clearly, there is a new spirit in Europe. And there is a new spirit in East Germany. Whether or not the Communist Party will survive this bold and daring and indeed desperate move, we cannot say.
22 years later, 2,000 miles away in Cairo, same thing, we cannot say. We know this is a big deal. We call this a Berlin Wall moment because we can see that new spirit that Tom Brokaw was talking about in Berlin. We can see that in Cairo today, too. But what happens next? What does this cause? We don't know. But we do know that in some sense today is day one of a different world. And change is hard. And the reason countries bend over backwards and violate all their principles and lie to themselves to maintain stability above all else is because stability is the devil you know, and change is the devil you don't. Unstable is a synonym for dangerous. We think of the Berlin Wall falling as all good change, yet a generation down the road, post-Soviet Russia is one of the most corrupt nations in the world, ranked worse than Haiti, ranked worse than Zimbabwe, ranked worse than Pakistan. Sudden events with far-reaching consequences are as worrying as they are inspiring on some days. But on days like today, the inspired part of us beats back the worried part just for this moment. Because things like this, days like this, remind us that not everything is foretold, that not every fate is sealed, that no trajectory is permanent, that surprises happen. Black swans, golden tickets, whatever you want to call it. Days like this go on the Brokow Shelf. Days like this remind us that we're alive, and we are lucky to be alive to see these days. This is a big one, a big day.